Good morning, YouTube, and welcome to another video from the Steve Adventure Academy. Today we're going to do something that's a little bit, well, it might even be a little bit scary. But you're along for the ride, so hopefully you'll stay and we'll see what the conclusions might be. And of course, this video is not the Knife Lab, but with a quick shout out to the channel name Cedric and Ada. Pete over there at Cedric and Ada does a great job. And Pete talks about what we all lovingly refer to as the Securex sheath. I prefer Scabbard, it's just a more fun word. Maybe it's more tactical for us small ninjas. Couldn't say for sure. But Securex. Now of course there's a variety of Securex options. And as you can see, I've focused exclusively on the cold steel Tanto knives, with the exception of this little guy right here. So we're going to do some of our testing on the basic kitchen knife. This is a Hampton Forge made out of some sort of mystery metal. It's pretty mysterious. It's, let's see, maybe those numbers there will give you some sort of idea as to what it might be. Superior no stains. Yeah, good luck with that. But disclaimers, all of these knives are heavily edge modded. This one's zeroed out almost completely. I've got two differing bevels on the leather neck. I just went with the leather neck theme since the leather neck comes with two differing bevels. Not a superior not one of Cold Steel's great grinds. We'll look at the GI Tanto is heavily modified. This was proof of concept for when I was able to get onto the 3V of the Warcraft. This one's zeroed out pretty seriously as well. Convex edge. And of course Grandpa's magnifying glass, just in case we need to get crazy. So, Securex scabbards. People are constantly asking me the same question that everyone wants to know the answer to. How bad does your Securex scabbard dull your knife? Well, my experience has been similar to Pete at Cedric and Ada's channel. However, I figured let's see about making some tests of our own. So what does that look like? Well, first thing we're going to do is I'm going to insert and then withdraw each of these knives 10 times in the scabbard they come with. The reason I don't think we're going to see a lot of result is because these scabbards are contoured. So the question is, does the edge of the blade actually touch inside the scabbard anywhere? So with the help of Grandpa's magnifying glass, you'll be able to see that I've marked with a Sharpie only on the cutting edge of these knives. All three are done. The way that we did that was to go like this and gently cut into the tip of the Sharpie. Sorry, I didn't even do that on camera. Silly rabbit, tricks are for kids. So like this, putting the black mark on the blade. So let's get to it, because this video could run long. So now I'm a bit of a mall ninja. I definitely withdraw my knife more often than I cut with it, because I just like looking at it. 6, I think 7, 8, 9, 10. Let's just do one more for the pot, as my grandmother used to say. And so when we look here, we can see that there is a small portion of the blade, not so much at the back, but possibly, but out in this portion where the knife does rub slightly on the scabbard, but not to any great effect. The other thing I should probably have demonstrated previously is that I've got some phone book pages here. These are Canadian level phone book pages, and these knives will definitely, well, they would a second ago, definitely cut. That's fun. So, this knife, although it is blazingly sharp, doesn't seem to want to take a bite of this paper. Oh, there it goes. So we'll try it on another spot, just to make sure we're doing an exhaustive test. Nope. So, the 8CR MOV was impacted by being pushed in and out of the scabbard. I will say that this has a very steep bevel on it right now, and for those of you bevelologists, you'll see that it's, I don't know if you can even see in the camera, but it's been laid down quite a bit to make it much more slicey. This is still a crazy slicey blade. And so if I were to switch kinds of paper, for instance, if we get into the cover of the phone book, you'll see that I can very easily peel off fine, fine, fine curls. So there's no question this knife is still sharp. But in and out of this scabbard, the stock scabbard, with no particular rhyme or reason, 10 times has gently impacted the blade when it comes to phone book pages. I really didn't think it was going to make that much difference, but that's the beauty of being a one-take wonder. You get to see what's actually happening. So yeah, if you can get into it, it's still very slicey. That's a little strange, probably technique, because you can see that this is really cutting well. So that's 10 withdraws. So because I don't mind marking up the G, this scabbard here, we'll do a series of rubbing directly on it and see how many pulls it takes to really damage that edge. So there's 1, 2, 3 cuts. We'll try it. Still pretty good. 4, 5, 6 cuts. Now Cedric does all this, excuse me, Cedric, that's funny. Cedric's the dog. Pete does all this testing on his channel already. He's got a much more scientific approach. This is, your standard bro science. So right now I would say that 6 direct cuts on the scabbard have impacted our cutting ability in the 8 CR13 MOV. I don't think any of us are surprised. This steel is fun, but compared to a full-on powdered super steel, it one might say it's for looking at. However, this is a real nice knife. I've really enjoyed carrying it. I'm still working out my long-term EDC carry on this guy, and some modifications I would recommend. Definitely steepen the back bevel on the non-show side. That bevel was fairly steep from the factory anyway, but I've laid it way out. It's much more slicey. And knocking the top off and then polishing out the upper quillion on the guard really makes it a much nicer fit, feel, and super fun. So we know that the Scurex does dull this sheath, this particular steel. Let's jump into a different steel. This guy here, kitchen knife, very slicey. Lots and lots of slicey. Doesn't have a scabbard, so we'll do 3. 1, 2, 3. Got some other pages here, but we'll see if we can get some miles out of this guy. So right away, scabbard material has definitely impacted the cutting on this one. 1, 2, 3. Now, full disclosure, I'm not a metallurgist insofar as I'm not able to look at a metal and then discern what it's made out of. However, based on cutting performance, I might suggest that these kitchen knives are probably made out of something similar to the 8 CR13 MOV. 3 swipes directly on the scabbard have definitely had an impact. We'll see if we can get to 9. There's 9. So absolutely an impact. No cutty, or definitely reduced. Now, if we would upgrade to something more coarse, like actual food rather than the foolishness of a phone book page, it's still a completely serviceable edge. But for the sharpness geeks, not being able to cut a phone book page is a catastrophic fail. So, does the Scurex sheath dull mystery steels and inexpensive steels? Absolutely. 6 swipes directly on the scabbard after 10 pulls, I don't really think is that bad for this knife at this price point. And so, frankly, I don't think that it's something I would really worry about. Besides, you're not buying 8 CR13 MOV thinking that you're not going to have to sharpen it. That would just be crazy. So this is a really fun knife. You can do all kinds of fun stuff at the campground with your edge mods and changing it to be a more interesting and more usable piece. Let's jump up to, well, I hope it'll be a jump up to the 1055 mid-carbon steel of the GI Tanto. So again, we've marked on the edge of the blade, and we'll run it through our paper here. Get into our phone book pages. Whoops. Now I've got a fairly coarse edge on this. That's my fault. I probably could have strapped it for a little while, but sorry, on camera. There we go. It's pretty easy. So in and out. 1, 2, 3, 4. Y'all can count. There we go. So 10 in and out. Grandpa's magnifying glass. Do we still see the black line? I don't know if you can tell, but from my perspective, that black line is removed, which is part of what I would expect. This is a fairly substantive blade, and a fancy scabbard. So let's see what the 10 in and out. Now that's 10 in and out without any use. If you're pulling your knife out 10 times and you're not using it, you're a mall ninja like me. That's just the, if it's 9, you're not, but if it's 10, you definitely are. So this is still, I would say, probably equal performance, no difference. How many of us really are going to pull our knives out 10 times and not use it? So the use is dulling your knife, not the scabbard, 10 to 1. So let's do our 1, 2, 3 cuts. And I'm cutting directly on the Securex material. It's all the same stuff, it shouldn't matter where I cut it. And then, that's 3. Gotta hit the paper at the right angle, this page is pretty shredded. So we're definitely seeing some edge impact, which I'll admit is a little surprising to me, but I was cutting directly on the scabbard. And this is a very, very low scalpely edge. Whoops, that's just me being aggressive. So, try to give this steel all kinds of chances. But we're looking for definitive bro science results. Okay, I'm going to say that that edge is definitely impacted by just 3 cuts directly on the Securex. Now, is the edge still usable? Not so much on phone book pages. Let's switch to something that's a little bit more reasonable media. This cuts, again, very fine curls. Now you can whittle with this all weekend. With this particular edge, I have over and over. You are going to want to come home and sharpen it afterwards just because it's so much fun to do. And it's beneficial. So, Securex definitely dulls the, what is that, 58 HRC? I couldn't find the HRC on the mini leather neck. Feel free to comment below if you know what the HRC is. I'll just be curious for that. But I believe these are claimed at about 58. Definitely impacted by the Securex. Powdered Super Steel, CPM 3V in a 61 to 62 HRC. Let's have a look at what this guy can do in its current state. Oops, I can definitely rip the page. Very slicey, very low effort. Love this edge. 3V takes a long time to get here. A lot of stropping because it's so hard, and wear resistant, but works good. So, black line. Still very present even after demonstrating on the paper. Let's do our 10. Halfway there. There we go. So, the Bro Science test completed. Now, I don't see any real change to the mark on the blade. It's still very fine because the edge is so fine. So we'll say that that scabbard has low impact insofar as we're able to see that it touches. And let's see how it does after 10. So this is still very slicey. So no impact from the scabbard. Now it's very likely that there may be superior fit and finish between the non-branded Securex scabbard that came with my GI Tanto. There are a variety of versions, so for those of you geeks like me, there's the version. And so, no, but this one is Securex branded, as you can see, and also on a much superior steel handle material, and just overall, wow. Can't get enough of that. So, no change. Let's do our cuts. I'm concentrating mostly on the back part of the blade in this case, because stropping this thing out takes a lot of passes, and I just don't want to do all that extra work. But after 3, no change. There's 3 more. My expectations are high, of course. I'm sure yours are as well. No real change. Oops, do it on camera, guys. Do it on camera. There we go. So no change. 3 more. Paper on camera. Still very, very sharp. Once the pages are cut a lot, they seem to get a little weaker, and they're more difficult to get that edge to take. So, switch pages. So still very slicey after 9. Let's make it 12, just for fun. Now again, consider in the real world. I know we're all interested in this, in the bro science of, does the Securex scabbard dull your knife? I don't think anybody says that it doesn't. The however is, this page is just not taking anymore, so there's some impact. Now I'm saying minimal impact, but there is some impact at 12. So, how many times do you withdraw your knife without using it? Do you ever pull your knife out of the scabbard without using it? I definitely do. Do I pull it out and not use it 12 times for every 1 time I do use it? Well, probably. Let's be honest. I probably do. But reasonable people don't. And again, this is still a very workable edge. There's nothing stopping this knife from performing at a high level. Now this one will cut feather sticks all weekend at the campground. You can do any kind of, all the whittling you want, and really you're only stropping it back up to phone book pages, because when your friends come over for supper, you want to be able to show them your knife, and they're going to want to be able to cut phone book pages, because phone book pages are the universal, international measure of how sharp your knife is. So, having said all of that, we can definitively say that the Securex scabbards absolutely do dull your knife. However, how many times do you pull your knife out without actually using it? And in that case, does it actually matter? For once and for all, for the channel, for at least for this channel, I don't think it makes any difference. And considering how inexpensive these scabbards are, and how much knife you get for the money from Cold Steel, who use all these Securex scabbards that we love to question, I don't think it makes any difference at all. If you want to switch up to Kydex, go for that. If you're really interested in leather, jump on that grenade and love it. But there's no reason to criticize, complain, or otherwise deride the Securex scabbard. At least not for these 3 knives, in my humble opinion. And so, rather than citing someone else's video, now we've got some bro science from Not the Knife Lab at Steve Adventure Academy. And so, from all of us to all of you, on every day and in every way, stay sharp.